Welcome back. Gauteng parents have an early call time tomorrow morning. Online applications for grade 1s and grade 8 learners for next year opening now at 8 a.m. The process was halted last week amid legal threats. All parties have since resolved their differences. To discuss, we're joined by spokesperson for the Gauteng Department of Education, Steve Mabona. Thank you for being with us,
Thank you very
Steve.
much.
So the one thing I understand your department has won is this 30-kilometer radius. So the MEC says that means children from Soweto can go to school in 4 ways. It doesn't mean you have to go in your area anymore. Is that a first in South Africa?
Definitely. I mean, remember the Constitutional Court said our feeder zone are actually discriminatory because they look at only 5-kilometer radius, irrespective of the current changes that we are seeing in terms of your demographics. People are allowed to stay, anywhere they want. They can reside anywhere. So they felt that the 5-kilometer radius is unfair. Hence, we were then compelled to go and consult all the schools, the SGB associations, to say we need to change our feeder zones. And as such, each and every school has a feeder zone, which will be, taking all the areas that are supposed to be feeding the school. So, yes, definitely the priority is the home address, your sibling, and your work address if you work very closely to the school. Then you come to 30-kilometer radius within the feeder zone, which means that you will then qualify. Even outside the feeder zone, which will be beyond.
So let's take race out of it. There are black parents living in 4 ways who would like their kids presumably to go to a school nearby because the traffic is horrific in and out of 4 ways. So do they still have an advantage then because they stay close, and how much?
Look, you have an advantage if you stay closer to a school because, you don't want to disadvantage people who reside in an area where you're going to find people coming from in other areas. The school is full, cannot be accessed by people who are closer to the school. So that's your priority. People that are close to the school, they will then qualify to be there. Because when you talk about language, the other parents will be close to a school, but because it will be a single medium, they will then not qualify to be at that school because the admission policy of that school will be saying the school exclusively is an African single medium, for instance. So we are now saying if numbers dictate that that school must consider introducing an English class, then we will go back to the school and say, but when we look into the system, we see that numbers dictate that you need to introduce an English class, and when coming to resources, we will be in a position to say, let's allocate a teacher or learner material, because we would have known way beforehand that we need to budget for that process, because looking at the numbers, people that are interested in that school.
Yeah. I thought Panyaza Lesufi said that issue had not really been won. So AfriForum Solidarity objected to that language as a key requirement. Explain it to me. So if you are first language Afrikaans and you live closer to an Afrikaans school, are you more advantaged than someone who lives even closer whose first language Zulu? Is that still the case?
It is, but then when we look at the numbers,
you can push for English classes.
For an English class to be introduced at that school. Because remember what we are doing here, we are changing the landscape, and hence they are trying to fight with us. They come in different ways because they are saying they want to privatize, exclusively say these are African single medium, and we're not going to be in a position to can allow other people, but they're not telling you bluntly. But we are saying to them, the people cannot privatize these public institutions. I mean, everyone is entitled to access these schools, and one way or the other, we'll find a way of introducing English in some of these classes where numbers are dictating that there's space, because the school cannot tell us that they are full. It's only the HOD who will utilize his or her officials to go to the school and say, yes, according to the information that we have, the school capacity is at this level. Because in some instances, we know that schools will take classes and preoccupy those classes with the, a kitchen or a dance room or any other thing that will say we don't have capacity in the school. So we're going to be dictated by the numbers. If the interest is there and there's no capacity, if it comes to a push that we must have a mobile unit, 2 or 3 in that school, so that we introduce an English class, we will do that.
Okay, so we've understood the language issue and the radius now moving from 5 kilometers, which does seem very small, to 30 kilometers. What were the other legal wranglings? How was this potentially stopped, and you have reached some compromise here?
Look, the organizations that were, challenging us, one among other things that they were saying all learners that are in grade R, like for instance in those schools, they need automatically to be moved to grade 1.
Because that was a way to get your children into a good school. You start from very young.
Yeah, but the admission policy that you utilize to admit the grade R, it's not the one that we utilize as the Department of Education. So in some instances, grade R depends on affordability. That grade R will only be exclusively Afrikaans, and they won't even, care to introduce English. People will come from different areas, even far away, passed in, all those things. So we are saying that process of administering the grade R, it's not even a responsibility of the Department of Education. As you know, that early childhood development, we are still in a process of taking over that process from social development. So we cannot then say grade R then must automatically move to grade 1. Each and everyone must go to the system and apply. Everyone must be given a fair opportunity to apply. But the other thing was the language of learning and teaching, which we said it's fine. In our forms, when you say they ask you that language of learning, you then need to indicate whether it's Afrikaans or English. But previously, we will say that language of teaching will utilize, probably when you say you are English or Afrikaans, we'll utilize that information not to classify you per race, but just to check on the numbers on how many people we have in this area. But now they want us to utilize that information as per, if we say it's Afrikaans, then we know that African schools will be coming there. Okay. But the issue again was the issue of the feeder
compromise?
zone.
Has that
compromise
been agreed to?
And it's on feeder zone to say when you click on that language, you will then see all Africans speaking schools. So we said then all those that are doing English, or they will write English there, they will also access all those schools that they can really access in the area.
So grade R doesn't guarantee you a place at that school in grade 0 or grade 1, but it still counts if you have a sibling in a school. That
Definitely.
Still has
if you have a sibling, you stand a good chance, but it's not carte blanche. I mean, you can't just say I have a sibling there, then I will apply maybe 15 days later, because we are saying at 8 o'clock tomorrow, people must be logged on and make sure that they apply. So you can't waste time. You need to go there as fast as possible to access the system, gdeadmissions.gov.za, and apply there on time. Don't say I have a sibling because it's an option. They're going to prioritize me, then I waste time. You need to apply on time. Space availability is an issue here. And
obviously it'll be much more competitive now for each and every good school, I guess.
Definitely.
The ones that are that parents want their children to go to.
Definitely. There's what we call high pressure schools. Those schools, some of them will be full within 10 minutes, 15, 20, 30 minutes, those schools will be full.
So the timing of your application counts?
Definitely.
It's almost first come, first serve.
It's a queue. I mean, if you are quick and you qualify in terms of the criteria, then you will then be given an opportunity to be placed. Remember, the placing period will then start later in August up until September. During that time, it's important that when the parents apply now, they need to have their log-on details safe. They need to make sure that they write them down. When we send an SMS to say we have placed you at the school, you need to go back to the system, log on and accept, because if you don't accept within 7 working days, then you might forfeit that space, because really we're not going to wait like as the previous years.
And you're confident the system will handle the influx tomorrow?
We have increased our servers. In 2016 we had about 4 servers. Now we are operating with about 10 servers. So we are confident there's nothing like a system will be crashing, system freezing. What we are saying to people, make sure that when you access our system, the network is as strong as possible, because people, if you go to an area where there's a network challenge, definitely, but you can't blame the department and say the system was hanging. It means you are at a place where network is a challenge. So make sure that wherever you are, there's no network challenges, so that then you will be smooth sailing.
So overall, I think your department has articulated the need for this change very well. You can't have township kids who can only go to schools in townships. This is going to change things. It opens up good schools to everybody, regardless of where they live. However, the MEC has been saying something suggesting that white parents this is about racism. So I just want to ask you about that. He said those people who thought that our children should be garden boys and tea girls are scared that our children will be actuarial scientists like their kids. Does he really believe that white parents, this isn't only about anxiety getting into a good school, but they're actually trying to actively harm black children?
No, people fear the unknown, because you will hear when we interact with them, they will say, no, but you are not building more schools. In what? Building more schools in your areas or in those areas. So we've been building schools. I mean, we have...
Or strengthening township schools as well.
We've built over 43 schools since we started in 2014. So we've improved there. And we are saying the 30-kilometer radius, in future, some of people who are staying in the urban areas, they will want to access those schools in the townships. I mean, we are improving. We have schools of specializations that we've introduced. Some they're in the township. The School of Engineering in Soshanguve, it's in the township. The School of Maritime, it's in Sebokeng, it's in the Vaal. We have a School of Nuclear in Atteridgeville. Any learner who will want to access the school, who stays in that urban area, can still go there and access the School of Specialization. Because what we are doing, we are improving the quality of education. We are saying a learner can leave the high school and go into the corporate world without any degree or thinking about a diploma, because we are moving into skill-oriented education in Gauteng. That's why we are making sure that we skill.
All right, thank you for your time, and we'll follow that online applications rush, no doubt, tomorrow morning. There was Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve